Hi, my name is Joe Jackson. I'm a journalist, broadcaster, interviewer, and author. And you know that cliche, I wrote the book on it? Well, I actually did write the book about Boyzone, namely their official biography, Boyzone, Our Story, in 1995. Though I should add that I was told by the publisher's box tree to style it on a teen appeal book they had published on Take That by some tabloid hack I'd never heard of, Piers Morgan. I wonder whatever became of him. More seriously, before writing that book, I had given Boyzone what their manager Louis Walsh said was their first serious interview when I talked with them for the Irish Times in May 1994. Then I interviewed them again, this time for Hot Press, in December the same year. And I'd go on to interview them individually and collectively, and King Louis, for magazines such as The Buzz and most recently and extensively for the Sunday Independent. But in this, the first of a series of podcasts about Boyzone, updating that flimsy book as it were, I want to focus on a tape I rediscovered from December 1994. It contains claims that were made to me off tape by Boyzone member Keith Duffy, but that I made voice memos to myself about during the wee small hours of the morning after the interview. I was half asleep, and it shows, so do try to stay awake as you listen. But those memos were meant purely for myself as a background to the story I was doing during my visit to Boyzone in Elstree Studio in London, where they were making their first appearance on Top of the Pops. And in that article, and the subsequent book, I didn't make public anything Keith told me off tape. Although, in both settings, I did refer to the fact that Boyzone were decidedly muted during the making of that TV show, and even when they saw themselves on the cover of the latest issue of Smash Hits. Not only that, 6 years later, when Keith gave me for the Sunday Independent an interview in which he basically ripped his heart bare about the pain that had been caused to him by Louis and Ronan Keating in particular, and that made him feel suicidal. We did allude to stories he told me in 94. But now I want to let people hear what he actually said. Although that said, out of respect for the memory of the late Stephen Gately, I will not reveal all that Keith disclosed. Suffice to say that certain people in Dublin at the time were trying to sell to tabloids a story about Stephen's past, and all of Boyzone, Keith said, were terrified that the group would be brought down if news got out that Stephen was gay. I knew he was. Louis had told me and asked me not to let Stephen know that I knew, so I didn't. But maybe even Stephen noticed that whenever I asked him about his dreams in terms of love, I always used the word person, not girl. Clearly, there was no need for this kind of subterfuge when it came to Keith Duffy, though he at the time patently was pissed off, as were other members of Boyzone who had girlfriends, that they had to lie to the public about that fact. But first, Keith and I talked about groupies, who I knew were active around Boyzone. And by the way, you can read my Boyzone articles at joejacksoninterviewer.com.
Talk to me a little about, we're not going to say anything about girlfriend, but about kind of all the girls who are besotted by you. When they kind of, what do you say to them when they write to you? What do they ask you, do they fall in love with you?
Yeah.
And say, what kind of girls do you like?
Basically, you know. Well, they don't really know what they're saying. Do you know what I mean? You get a lot of 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds writing on your fan letter or something, bonk me fast and make it last kind of thing. They probably don't even know what it means, half of them. But I was talking to a few of the bands on the road and Optimistic, and they're going to me like, do you know what a fan is?
Yeah.
I was going, yeah, it's a girl that follows your band, isn't she? I mean, he says, you're all wrong. He says, what a fan is they want to sleep with you. They're girls that want to sleep with you because you're famous and it'd be a good thing to sleep with you.
Yeah.
And that's what a fan is. So what you do is you flirt. And you get them more interested in wanting to sleep with you, and then they buy more of your posters, more of your singles. And that's the way the ball rolls.
But you also make the decision to sleep with them or not.
Well, that's true enough. I have no interest in personally in sleeping with anyone.
But some of the guys are going to say I can make them even more besotted and to buy more.
Well, of course, but some of them are psycho. You don't know what you're getting yourself into when you start sleeping with fans.
I know.
Because some of them are like just. I know. I mean, there's this girl over here now. We've met. It's one of the fans, and there was the AIDS Day the other day, and we're giving out these cardboard. Like the back of the condoms, elastic down to them. And on the back of the cardboard when I took the packet of Johnny's off, it was, I'll sleep with you if you'll sleep with me, kind of thing. Now she's a little girl, she's 20 years of age. Now she's a nice girl. I didn't even think getting twice about it. The next time I saw her, she said, how's it going? As if I didn't even see it. But I was talking to her at the airport then the next day or something like that. And there was loads of fans at the airport, and I was talking away to her. And I saw 3 more girls coming along. There was after meeting the night before, and I was after talking to her for a long time, so I pretty knew them as fans.
Yeah.
So I wasn't rude by any means. I
Right.
just went, hang on a second, how are you? To the other girls, because you
Yeah.
have to have time for everybody. And because I started talking to these girls, I want to see the face, and it was like something like that would happen in Fatal Attraction. I thought she was going to start a war with these
Right.
girls.
Okay.
They're all fucking psycho.
Yeah. See, you do have to be very careful.
And that's what I used over here, because in Ireland our fan range is from 10 to 16. Over here, like, it's from 10 to fucking 30.
Sure.
Not joking, there's 26-year-old girls following us around.
Yeah.
Half the fans over here have mobile phones and cars. They follow us home with their cars and their mobile phones and everything else.
The phone outside the house.
They're phoning all the other fans and telling them where we live, and they're all
Really?
driving down their cars. Like, they're all old over here. They're groupies more so than fans, you know? For a Boyzone, like for a pop group. It's just like I've never seen the likings in my life.
Does that frighten you though?
No, it doesn't frighten me. I tell you something. If I wasn't going out with a girl I'm going out with, that's off the
Yeah, I know that is. Yeah.
But if I wasn't going out with a girl I'm going out with, I mean, I'm a man for the women, you know what I
Sure,
mean? And God
yeah.
knows what I'd be up to.
Yeah.
Because I mean, some of them are so fucking gorgeous, and they're like 22. Like, I mean, they're over the age of consent. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? And I mean, it's only, no matter if you're sleeping around or not, or if you use protection or not, if you're a male and you're like on the road and you're bored in the tits and you're missing your family, and the likes of these gorgeous girls coming up to you all the time,
Yeah.
I mean, fuck it, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's where I'm secure in that aspect, and I
Right.
wouldn't have to think about
Right.
things like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, if the thing ever did happen, that I had to start thinking about that, well, Jesus Christ, it'd be very hard to say now. I'd say,
What would you say to those fans who write that stuff to you to stop them getting upset with? What would you say to them? If someone, 'cause I'm going to talk to a couple over the phone, like,
Yeah.
put in. So, what would you say to them? I mean, do you think that's healthy? That it's good? If they're getting their little romantic dreams fed, and maybe okay, it makes them buy more records. Is it good? Is it bad? Or is it what?
well, I kind of see an awful lot of them will write it down, but they won't say it to you straight.
All right.
So when you're with them, you can just talk to them as if you don't know who they are, but
All
give
right.
them plenty of time as if you want to know who they are, even though you've met them 500 times.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I mean, if I knew a fan for ages and ages and ages and she's writing all these letters, then you still just go, how are you? Oh, kids,
Right.
how's things going? What you do today? Totally
Right.
different range of story,
Right.
you know?
Right.
It's the way it has to be done. If you go up and say, listen, what's the story with these letters? It means that you're worrying about
I know.
it and that you're thinking about it.
I know.
So you play it off as if you never even said it. It's all
I'm going to
letters.
get you all this book I told Shane about. It's called Starlust. And it's the examination of fantasies of fans. From basically Rollers back to the Osmonds through David Bowie up to, and some of the really, I mean, you probably get some of those letters, but some of those are really frightening. They're saying, I wrote to you 7 times this week, and you only been answering me once, so you're getting too fucking big for you. This kind of
You're getting off like
deterrent.
You see, that's you're supposed to keep everybody happy. The world is always down. Keep
I know.
everybody smart, keep the fans happy. But what are you supposed to do if you get letters like
I
that?
know.
You know what I mean?
They're threatening.
And the fans can turn on you like that. And I mean, if you get the wrong person with the wrong kind of head to turn on you, they can turn hundreds against you
I know.
just by word of mouth.
I know.
Because
I know.
some of them I've got.
Is there a fan club?
Not over here, yeah, there isn't.
But there will be.
There will be,
So
yeah.
that's where it all gets fucking very, you have to be very careful.
Yeah. So I don't have to worry about it like that. I don't
Aye.
think. But it's worth thinking about, because we've never had any problems like that now because the fans are young.
I
But
know.
over here, they know what they're talking about. Do you know what I mean?
What
When
kind,
they
of
say,
girls, what kind of girls do you like?
sorry,
What kind of girls do you like?
girls that I like.
Yeah.
I like girls that are smaller than me.
Again, that's two. It's always tall.
What?
We all like girls that are smaller. Why? Protect them.
I don't know. I think it is or something
Yeah.
like that. Smaller. I like blonde hair to about here. I have fascination with fucking green eyes on girls.
Have you?
Oh fuck. I just think they're amazing. Jesus, puking me jocks as soon as I see them, like, you know. And a nice set of legs and nice pair of boobs and them.
The green eyes really get you.
Oh, green eyes definitely. Just
What kind of character?
really outgoing, funny,
Yeah.
not afraid to make a show of herself if
Alright.
need be.
All
You
right.
know, I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I'm
extroverted.
like myself. Like when I'm away from the band, I just go wild, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just let me fucking
Can you
take
do that though? Incidentally, can you, or do you still have to think?
Now I have to think an awful lot.
Yeah.
When I was in the band, I was a while ago altogether, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd
Yeah.
walk into the pod and I mean, it would take me 2 hours to go across the dance floor because every single person was coming over, hugging me and kissing me.
Right.
How's it
Right.
going? How's it going?
Right.
I'd like it mates everywhere.
But you
You know?
also could go out and get pissed. You also could
Go
do
out
all
and
the
get pissed,
things.
yeah,
Like get into a row.
Get
You
into
don't
it.
have
I was
to.
a fucker for that. No, I don't like fighting around like
But
that.
still.
But Jesus, and I had a few drinks on me. I didn't get like looking for fights, but
Just 2 minutes, wait.
All right.
Okay.
Fine.
but I always enjoyed the
Yeah.
row kind of thing.
But these are all the restrictions that are imposed, and you got to watch your face, you got to watch your body, you got to watch your
Exactly right.
manners, you got
It's
to
like
watch what
on
you
the
say.
contract, we're not allowed to play football.
All right.
We're not allowed to go bungee jumping. We're not allowed to do this. We're not allowed to do that because in case you hurt yourself.
All right.
You know this kind of thing.
Right. Those restrictions.
The restrictions are unbelievable. You're not allowed to do anything that might endanger your health.
Okay. So that cuts out a lot of the excesses.
Yeah.
Potential excesses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I don't want to put you on the wrong road.
No, but we're having great fun. But there's another side to it.
Yeah. Why we're left to have good fun, we have great fun.
Right.
We do the work. We don't mind doing the work.
Right.
But why we're left to do it, we don't need people to tell us what to do. We don't do it.
Well, maybe the hardest part is just getting used to those kind of. But then the restrictions you're describing.
But apart from all that, anything, the fact that you've made it, there was a lot of begrudgery. Even when I did the last interview, it was like, who are you kidding? They'll never fucking match take that or any of this other stuff. Now you're on smash hits, you're on top of the pops. I mean, does that give you good senses of achievement, confidence, whatever?
It gives me a great sense of achievement because, as you said, there was an awful lot of begrudgers, an awful lot of there's an awful lot of critics, and cynics at the start, and that didn't get us down at all. But I mean, it's just on the side of it, not really.
Good.
But at the side of it all, you're still going up and up yours.
Yeah.
We made it. If you saw the Smash Hits Awards,
That's it.
when we received the thing, just everybody at home, we made it.
That was great.
There was an awful lot of meaning in that to me, anyway. Because it was just.
To who was that directed? Maids? The business? The begrudgers?
I'll tell you who was that directed. That was directed to the begrudgers, and it was directed to Mammy and Daddy.
All right, okay.
Just so they know I'm all right and we made it, and they'd be proud and probably cry their eyes out.
Saying you made it, that is what you were aiming for, to do this with it. You couldn't have aimed to do that within 6 months, would you?
No, definitely not. It was it's just amazing. But that had so much meaning in it to me that other people wouldn't understand. I mean, for different people looking at that, right? Begrudgers and critics and everybody else looking at that, looking at us and looking at us going on the stage and all the rest of it. And it's like us really happy after getting the award and going, we made it. Then later on they kind of hear in their mind, we made it. Well, fucking, they did believe make it.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I know.
And I don't know if they see it like that. But that's why I meant it.
Yeah.
To be.
Yeah.
And
I think the whole thing should be celebrated, but I'm sure that there's enough cynics to try and hold back on the celebration. I want to celebrate your achievements this year. As far as I'm concerned, it's as legitimate as what any band has done.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
But you know they're going to crawl out of the woodwork and say they're not putting band, they don't play, they don't write, you know all that.
But I mean, I thought we were the solo band that got that,
Right.
But from being on the Smash Hits tour, talking to all different bands, E17, EYC, Bad Boys Inc., all the different pop groups that you see in the Smash Hits, BJ and Duncan, a band called Optimistic, they're only coming out now, and they're brilliant, very good friends of ours. And from talking to all them, we've all been through the same boat.
Yeah.
Every single band.
What, you're not real bands?
No, not that we're not real bands, but we've all taken the same type of shit off. You're not, well, maybe you're not real bands and you don't play instruments on stage, blah, 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 blah. Anything they've said, we've all got it. Every band has got it. And they really have. So it makes us feel a shit lot better because it means we're not the only ones that have been the only ones from Ireland. We thought we were the only ones getting it because there was nobody over there getting the shit that we were getting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you paved the way.
Yeah, the likes of doing little gigs, trying to make it big, and going to all the clubs, all the discos. All the girls be screaming and going crazy, but all the blokes be spitting at you and throwing beer at you. Some rough gigs, and that used to get us down sometimes and getting bottles thrown at us on stage and people spitting phlegm at us and stuff like that. It was really great.
Yeah.
But from talking to all the other bands about everything else, they've all had the exact same bottles thrown at them. All boy bands have got the exact same.
Another part of it is, though, a lot of musicians who might respond like that to you are also bands who aren't making it.
That's true enough.
You know what I mean?
Well, the likes of certain bands in Ireland that have been slagging us off, I'm not going to mention any names, but I mean, they just can't live where they live,
Yeah, all right. So some Irish bands are kind of really learning too.
Yeah, a lot of them. But I mean, like you too, I've said congratulations, all the best.
All right.
Because Bill Hughes, our director of our videos, a very good friend of most lads out of you too.
Right.
And he's been telling them an awful lot about us, and they seem to be all behind us 100%.
So they passed on regards.
Yeah, they're big time. They were very friendly to us when we met them and stuff.
Where'd you meet them?
Well, we didn't meet them all together now. We're in,
Right.
say, the likes of
Okay.
Tosca's having a meal and one or two of them being there, and saying, "Oh, congratulations, lads, on your success, whatever."
Okay, well that's good. If they're big enough to fucking do that.
Exactly,
somebody
yeah.
who could take them.
It's just living it in, really, and anybody can do that.
Well, the other part of it to me is there a successful business venture? If a single costs $2,000 and sells 60,000 copies and it looks set to spark your career, that to me is a successful venture, whatever angle you're coming
big
from.
time, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, we could have released a single and it went nowhere. Released another one and it went nowhere. We released one and went straight in at number 3.
Right.
Released the second one and went in at number 1. And then we decided to come to the UK and we released a single over here and went straight in at number 10. If that single had went straight in and say 69 or 70, but then maybe we would have looked at ourselves and probably got a bit depressed and whatever, and
Right.
maybe lost heart in it a little bit. But it just makes it pump it even more.
Do you fear that there will be a backlash if they take that organisations or management or people who back them think is really are threatening their turf?
Well, a backlash.
Yeah, against us. Or even an industry move to shut us up, to stop it.
No,
Can you do that?
I don't think. I know they do that, but I don't think it will be done. Because
Alright.
Take That are supposed to be a clean image band, and it'd be out like wildfire if they try to do it like that.
Alright.
And I think they are generally worried. A lot of people think we're the first band that has actually come along that are actual contenders for Take That.
Alright.
And there is an awful lot of people worried. I mean, even the boys themselves are worried because we've been talking to an awful lot of Take That fans, and I'm not very happy with them at the moment because they're out of reach, they're out of touch, they don't talk to their fans anymore. You know? And a lot of people are just totally degraded by Take That at the moment. And when they're on stage and the Smash Hits Awards to the night, and a fair play to them, they're brilliant performers and they're actually nice guys to us, so we can't say a bad word against them. But while they were on stage, they were saying, "You're our fans, we'll never leave you."
That's right.
A tone of kind of like afraid in their voice. Do you know what I mean?
I heard when one of them came, when it was a marker, one of them stepped out the front and said something about that. It was really like, where's that coming from?
Exactly. So I think, and Howard said something as well. That they all said little bits and pieces that actually made us think they're actually fucking worried about us.
Right.
And it must be us because there's nothing else happening.
There's not. The other contenders have run. I mean, who are the other contenders?
The contenders are like C17, but they're more of a macho band than a pop group.
Yeah.
And they're brilliant guys as well. We don't rate them. Like Bad Boys Inc. Like they've made it so far. I don't think they're going to go any further. If they were going to go any further, they would have done by now.
Would you be hopeful then of breaking it beyond into Europe and America? Is that the ultimate?
That's the ultimate, isn't it? Like,
did any of them? No.
Well, you can't really say because in Germany and Scandinavia and the likes of Holland, a lot of bands like that make it big, and you don't hear about it over here or in Ireland.
Right.
You just don't hear. But like Worlds Apart, they're supposed to gone from Ireland, gone from England. Nobody hears anything of them, but they're fucking huge in Germany.
Okay.
You know?
Will you stay in Ireland?
Will I live in Ireland?
Will you stay there?
Yeah, jeez, I can't wait to go home.
Do you really miss it as much as everyone seems to be pining for?
I fucking miss it terrible. I really do.
Yeah.
I really miss it terrible. I can't wait to go home. You know, but
that's the other side of it, though, isn't it? Has there been any moments throughout it all where you felt I'm paying a higher price for this than I thought I would?
Yeah, There's an awful lot of hard work in this.
Yeah.
A lot of people just see the glamour; they don't see the hard work that goes in behind the scenes.
Yeah, and the loneliness and all this family separation and all that.
Yeah, like we us five guys are like brothers now, you know. Yeah, we're like brothers.
I can see even the way there is a bonding there.
There's
you take care of one another.
We look after each other. I mean, we could have the odd row.
Sure,
that's like brothers do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, when it came to the crunch, if there's anybody else trying to force their way in on us, like whether we're talking to the guy next to us or not, after having a row, we'd be on the top of each other all the way. Do you know what I mean? Looking after each other.
The same applies to does it if you feel that a record company or management team or any of those are out to shark you or out to fucking shaft you. I mean, I imagine you would bond together and bash back. We do an awful lot. We have an awful lot of talks between the five of us. All right.
That nobody else would even hear or see about.
Good.
And we all know pretty much what we want.
Right.
And we're all going to stand up pretty much for what we want. There's a certain amount of I don't know what to say really, but the reason that we're not as close as we should be. Now, don't get me wrong, we're very close, but the reason that we wouldn't be as close as we should be would be, I don't know, I'd rather say it off tape.
Incidentally, after Keith asked me to turn off the tape, we went and sat on a metal stairway outside the top of the pop studio, and at one point, while he was telling me of the pressures he felt he was under to sign a particular contract, Keith Duffy began to cry. I was a friend of Louis Walsh at the time, but I hated the idea that allegedly he was bullying certain members of Boyzone into signing that contract. So I advised Keith to seek out separate legal advice, and he did. But now, prepare yourself for some pretty lethargic voice memo from someone Herman's Hermits might call Sleepy Joe.
For the record, and if you're ever doing the book, I mean, and it should note that Shane kind of pulled back when he said something about a book, and I think it was because he had been saying any money to be made, I'm going to get money out of Boyzone. But it was Keith who kind of explained that they don't trust Louis, that the contracts that they all said they had checked, that they were, the people came back and told them, whoever checked them for them, that they should not sign them, because it's things like if the band falls apart and any of the guys go on to form new bands or whatever, the 20% of the top of the money earned by that band must then go back to Louis Walsh. That Well, apparently, like the way he tells them not being allowed to show that they have girlfriends, and basically he was saying that he doesn't really give a fuck. That it's like Keith said, you know, if he came in here and he saw me standing in the cold and I said I'm freezing, he wouldn't give a fuck about my health. It would be his kind of investment. He'd be afraid that something would go wrong with that, and that they had this terrible explosion. Well, Louis referred to this explosion, but from Keith's side, it was Louis even attacked Mikey's girlfriend, and Mikey left the band. And it was only before this trip to Britain that Mikey had left for a day. And when Louis came over to the Smash Hits Awards, he said, I'm not happy because Mikey had walked out. And I've had it checked legally. And I can drag him over the coals if he leaves Boyzone. And the thing was that he had left because of Louis' explosion. And Mikey's girlfriend had said to Louis, fuck off, mind your own business. If I told him to leave the band in the morning, he'd leave. Mikey left. And the rest of the guys, when Louis said, I'm not happy with Mikey leaving, I could either drag him to the coals or I could get him out. I know the legal way of getting rid of him. Keith said, if you get rid of him, you get rid of all of us. So clearly there's a bonding, and there's no relationship between, there's no intimate or any kind of relationship between Louis and the band and the five guys. And certainly the five guys I met today, maybe they were tired, but there was a noticeable lack of warmth and enthusiasm, the optimism, the dreams, and the hopes that I noticed 5-6 months ago when I first met them. And Keith said that he'd been dying to see his girlfriend, aching to see her, that she's coming over tomorrow, but now that Louis arrived, she'll be in London and he won't be able to see her. The other story Louis and Keith told me was that they've since found out that Steve, at 17, he hopes that Stephen doesn't bring them all down if the things exploded about him being a homosexual and having that kind of past. So it's very hard for me. I'm exhausted now, but it's very hard for me to go ahead and present Boyzone as the cheery kind of bright guys who made it. All I encountered today was 5 guys wasted and low. They saw them at Smash Hits Mag when I was there, and sure they were a wee bit excited, but they just went through it and passed on. That's not the way it should be. Boyzone, or Keith also said the Boyzone believe if they could get rid of Louis in the morning, they would, and that they feel closer to Paul Kill from Polygram, you know. Now I think I know why Paul Kill didn't want me around, and I know that Louis was lying when he said that Kill dislikes him because there's a power struggle. Paul Kill obviously knows that Boyzone are not happy with him, Walsh as manager or as anything. Another part, the lights in, I wish I could go to sleep because I had 3 hours sleep last night before I came up to London. Keith said he's really angry because payment is for every £1,000, Louis gets 20%, 1/5. Okay, he gets 200 straight away. Then the lighting, the staging, the insurance, all the other people have paid, and out of what's left, that is split 5 ways between the band. So they said that he'll get richer much faster than they will, and that pisses them off.
Rise and shine, Sleepy Joe. Okay, let's leave it there for now until I do the next podcast in this series about my experiences with Louis Walsh and Boyzone. As I said, you can read articles that came out of those interviews on my website, joejacksoninterviewer.com, where there also are other podcasts. I thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Joe Jackson Interviews.